Hey guys, Zack here, and this is my review of the Cuphead show. Okay, so in this episode, Cuphead and Mugman are reunited with Miss Chalice, and they have mixed feelings about it. So the episode opens up with Big Bang and Mugman trying to charm Elder Kettle out of his cookie jar, and what we quickly find out is that they've actually been practicing the dance that Miss Chalice taught them. They've been trying to hone it and make it as charming as possible. And since obviously they needed more practice with that, considering the last time they did that, they wound up getting arrested. So yeah, they clearly needed more work. But and that was why they learned the dance in the first place. They were trying to get Elder Kettle's cookie jar, but well, that didn't wind up working out. So they had to wind up stealing cookies. But and that's how they got arrested. It was a whole thing. But in case, Elder Kettle is obviously very impressed with their dancing skills, and they think they finally successfully charmed him out of his cookie jar. But then he remarks that while charming, they will never actually get his cookie jar, and then he leaves while eating a cookie for himself. Which of course causes them to realize that the charm that the dance they've been practicing might actually be worthless, and of course, Cuphead points out that obviously they don't fully understand how Miss Chalice specifically is able to pull it off. But of course, what we find out is that the subject of Miss Chalice is actually a sore subject between Cuphead and Mugman. With Cuphead pointing out that she was such a good friend to them, but Mugman points out that he believes the opposite. That obviously, since she never visited them in the prison, nor did she actually know that they actually she actually abandoned them. That actually makes her a very terrible friend, and that they actually don't know anything about her. But Cuphead points out that they obviously know two things about her already. But of course, this causes Mugman to become frustrated with Cuphead, and then he hears a knock on the door and sarcastically remarks that maybe it's his good friend Miss Chalice now. And of course, he opens the door and it's revealed to actually be Miss Chalice, who greets Mugman. But Mugman just slams the door in her face because he doesn't want to see her. And at which point, Cuphead opens the door and invites her in. And she then proceeds to reveal why she's there, about how she got arrested, about how apparently. And this should be obvious, but because she had been charming people with her charm, and she had actually upset a lot of people around town, and they are not happy with her. So they've been trying to bust it. They've been trying to find her, and she's laying low until the actual angry mob dissipates, and they don't wind up attacking her. And of course, they point out that, and of course, Cuphead and Mugman point out that they start arguing with her, and of course, Mugman, of course, points out that they obviously can't trust her, pointing out that obviously she didn't visit them in prison or know anything about that, and does explain what happened after she abandoned them, and she quickly reveals that she actually had no idea they had actually gotten arrested. She just points out that the last thing she saw, they got knocked out. They knocked each other out, and then she turned tail and fled to escape from the cops, so she didn't get arrested as well. And of course, when they woke up, and of course that's exactly what happened. Well, for the most part. When Miss Chalice woke up, that obviously was in fact what happened. But well, Cuphead and Mugman. But they wake up. But of course, they point out that she also apologizes that she couldn't, that she didn't save them from the Hooskow, which of course they start saying various names for prison, which of course, eventually Miss Chalice says one that Mugman thinks she makes up, but Miss Chalice points out that he hasn't heard of it, then he hasn't. They just hasn't heard of it. But of course, she then proceeds to point out Cuphead then proceeds to point out that she can stay as long as he wants to hang out from the angry mob. But then Elder Kettle overhears this conversation and tells them that he absolutely draws the line at somebody staying there to hide from an angry mob, and tries to kick Miss Chalice out. But Miss Chalice then proceeds to turn on the charm, and Elder Kettle then proceeds to point out that she can stay there and hide out from the angry mob as long as she wants, and then gives her a cookie, much to Cuphead and Mugman's surprise and shock, and a whole bunch of other things. And then they wonder how exactly does she does it, but they don't fully understand how she does it. At which point Miss Chalice asked them what they actually do for fun around the house, and Cuphead and Mugman just revealed that they actually just ride their goat. They just ride the goat from the front yard to pass the time when they're having fun, and that works out well for for about an hour. But then Miss Chalice eventually gets bored and points out that they need to find something more to do, and then asks everybody to huddle up, which ironically includes the goat. And of course, she tells them that they're actually going to need to find something more fun and interesting. So she reveals that she actually enrolled them in a dancing competition, which Mugman points out the preposterous nature of that because she was supposed to be hiding from an angry mob. But of course, she points out that they'll be able to enter it and win first prize, but they're going to need a ride. And then they look at the goat, who immediately backs out of the conversation and just leaves. At which point they have to realize they need to find another way to mode of transportation, and they eventually discover Elder Kettle's truck, which is an old beater truck. It's clearly just seen better days, but of course, Cuphead and Mugman revealed that they're actually not allowed to drive it, but Miss Chalice pointed out that who said anything about them driving it, and they revealed that actually she can drive, not well, but she can drive. And of course, she starts racing around the car and they take it for a joyride. But also in the process, they wind up getting distracted by Hildeberg, who waves at them. And they aren't paying attention to the road, so they wind up going into a cornfield and land on top of a train track, where they get hit by an oncoming train, despite their best efforts to try and get the car to start again. And the car winds up being completely fine. It winds up being total, but then they wind up just getting back where they were anyway. Miss Chalice, Cuphead and Mugman, they wind up at the concert hall where they're supposed to do the dance competition, while the car reassembles itself in the parking lot and is completely fine. At which point they come home having won first place from the dance competition. And Miss Chalice points out that was the most fun she's ever had, and that she normally goes solo, but she's happy to have had people around. And of course, Cuphead points out that that's obviously that she's just happy that he had fun, and and he's just happy that they can continue to make fun while she's being hunted from an angry mob. At which point a switch clicks in Mugman's head, and he pulls Cuphead into the closet. And then they decide to have an actual conversation about the whole angry mob situation. Pointing out that obviously the angry mob hasn't really come after them since they've been out all day. If there was actually an angry mob, they would have been chased along by now. And Cuphead does point out that he does have a point, but then Miss Chalice interrupts the conversation, having appeared in the closet with them, and proceeds to tell them that actually she lied about the angry mob and it was just using it as an excuse for her to hang out with Cuphead and Mugman again. And of course, Cuphead and Mugman forgive her on the grounds that she would really seem like she actually missed them, and are happy to just be able to hang out with her again. And they do give her a hug, but suddenly there's a knock at the door, and Mugman sarcastically remarks that maybe it's her angry mob now. And it turns out there actually was an angry mob, who consists of various Equal Isle citizens, all various animals and shapes and other things. But of course, Mugman immediately slams the door in their face and tells Miss Chalice it's for her, and then there's somebody who starts barging the door down. And of course, Cuphead is obviously confused and a little angry about the fact that she seems to have lied about the angry mob, and she then reveals that she was lying about the angry mob. So, yeah, there really was an angry mob, and she was just but she did admit that she really did want to hang out with them. But at which point the angry mob proceeds to barge in and demands Miss Chalice, but then is at this point where Cuphead and Mugman tell them to stop and point out that Elder Kettle is actually sleeping, and they decide to take it outside, which they do. At which point they, after making sure that the door is closed and that Elder Kettle won't be able to hear him, Mugman then tells them to continue, and they then remark that they should just stand aside and let them have Miss Chalice, since obviously Miss Chalice scanned them all out a whole bunch of things, and they kind of want revenge on her. At which point Mugman then proceeds to go into this beautiful speech to kind of appeal on Miss Chalice's behalf. About how and initially it seems like this bad thing about how he's just kind of calling her a cheat and a bad friend, which she tries to stop him on, but he then remarks he's not finished. And he does also point out that her charm and joy and her tap dancing all brought them all a lot of joy, and asks them if that's worth parting with some of their money. And of course they remark that it of course is not, so they continue to go on the rampage, but they quickly discover that Miss Chalice has seemingly disappeared, and Cuphead and Mugman start cowering. And by the time they realize Miss Chalice is gone, they're asking him for ideas, and she's disappeared. The angry mob is upset about the fact that Mugman told them this beautiful speech to kind of distract them from the fact that Miss Chalice escaped, and of course, that's at this point with the leader, the eyeglass maker from Miss Chalice from the end of season 1. She remarks that Milo, they just beat up Cuphead and Mugman instead, and they proceed to get ready to go and do that until one of the angry mob's members' club starts floating and starts beating them over the head, and they all panic at that because they realize that the clubs are not supposed to be floating, and they all run off. At which point, and of course, Cuphead and Mugman start panicking because obviously floating club. But then they hear a familiar voice, and then Miss Chalice appears in her ghost form, and they're both scared, and they're mainly just scared, but also a little confused that Miss Chalice is a ghost. And she does confess that yeah, she's a ghost. She's been a ghost the whole time, but then proceeds to explain how she actually has to lay low for a while, but she's more than happy to hang out with them sometime soon. And then jokingly scares them before disappearing, and Cuphead and Mugman collapse in panic. But yeah, this episode was just kind of like, yeah, you know, Miss Chalice is just, it establishes that Miss Chalice is a good friend, but also she's kind of a little bit difficult to actually keep as a friend, because obviously they don't know whether or not she's lying. She's one of those kind of people. She's very much like, I'm telling you this, but you have to believe me. But obviously it's very unclear as to whether or not she can be trusted. Obviously she is a good friend, and she obviously did care about Cuphead and Mugman, but she also is a bit of a habitual liar. She's very openly, and that's a very sharp contrast to how she is in the games. But in the game, she's obviously a guardian spirit of some sort. But in this version of the story, not so much. She's very different, and it's clear, and that's obviously an interesting way to do her characterization. I mean, obviously it's a lot different, but I do appreciate it. But in any case, that's gonna do it for my review of the Cuphead show. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. Be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It does really help me out. And you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that are my way of saying thanks. So be sure to check those out. Links down in the description. And finally, if you want to see more content from me, then be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen as well. The top video is the most recent video. It may or may not be this one. Whereas the bottom video is a video recommended to you based on what you've already seen from me. So if you want to try something new or see more of what you like, then be sure to check both of those videos out. And also, be sure to go check out my Twitch. I'm trying to push for partner over there, or affiliate, not partner. But go check out my Twitch because I'm trying to push for Twitch affiliate, and I would very much appreciate any and all help that can help with that. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.